on beating Curtis Blaydes, and that's it.
As a percentage, how much harder are your hands after soaking them in the gasoline?
Mate, they're like absolute stones. You know what? I seen them new gloves. They sent me some of them new gloves, and they're a lot smaller than the other ones. There's a lot less padding on them, and I just thought, you know what? I need to harden the knuckles up, and that's the only way that I know how. So I've been doing the old gypsy method of dipping them in petrol, and it's they're like rocks, mate. Yeah.
If let's say Tom wins on Saturday or you win, do you think this should count as a legitimate title defense for him, or should it count as an undisputed title win for you when they inevitably promote it to the undisputed title?
So basically, you're asking if this is the real belt.
Yeah.
Yes, this is the real belt in my mind. In my mind, Jones versus Stipe is just their retirement fight. Not to be rude, but we know they're both 1 or 2 fights away. So more than likely, this is their get the bag and get out fight, which is fine. That's how I view it.
Is any part of you concerned about the obvious health risks of putting your hands in petrol for
Which are what?
I don't know. I just feel like having a flammable liquid seep into your hands is probably going to cost you at some point.
They're doing all right so far, mate. We'll find out on Saturday night, won't we? We'll find out if I get a disgusting knockout on Saturday, you better believe that half of the roster are going to be dipping the knuckles in petrol. So it'll be all good.
I know, obviously, like life doesn't really go past this weekend, but should you get the win this weekend, does it make sense for you to be in November in Madison Square Garden in November watching those two fight?
I mean, that'll be a lot of fun. I love New York, love MSG, so that would be great.
Curtis right here. Sticking with the John Jones thing, though, but John, you know, he goes on these Twitter Q&As with fans a lot, and he kind of said, you know, in as short as that first fight was, he thought you were winning that fight. Did you think you were actually winning that fight, or was it just not quick enough or long enough to kind of...
I do feel like I was beginning to find my range. I'm sure everyone in here has watched that over. It's not hard to watch it 40 times in a row. I have. I do feel like I was starting to find my range. So, yes.
And how much of, obviously Tom is a high level black belt, but he's, you know, everyone says hyper athletic, hits strong and fast. You've fought in, you know, Derek Lewis and Ngannou, Sergey Pavlovich, the 3 heaviest hitters in this division. You trained for Jailton Almeida, who everyone said had the best grappling in this division. Did you have to do anything specifically for Tom that maybe you didn't have to do for those other guys?
Working with smaller guys a little bit just to get used to more hand speed, but that's the only adjustment.
Tom, right here. Before Curtis's last fight, he said that, you know, a lot of fans and pundits kind of view him as the gatekeeper of heavyweight. Like, you can't be a contender until you face Curtis. But you yourself said that you take Curtis Blaydes very, very seriously. So do you view Curtis Blaydes as a gatekeeper, or is that just a moniker?
No, I don't at all. I think the guy's been in the top 10 for a long time. He's done basically everything that there is to do apart from win a title. Curtis Blaydes has done so. I respect him a lot. I respect what he's all about. I respect him as a person, as an athlete, everything. And I've taken him. Whatever. I have taken him very seriously in the build-up, and I am taking this fight very, very seriously. I'm not looking past him at all.
Curtis, what have you made of Tom's performances since that first fight in 2022? You know, he's shown devastating knockout power on the feet, and I think a lot of people expect your game plan to be take him down and expose him with those vicious elbows like you usually do. But would part of you like to stand and bang and try and surprise people?
I'm going to be organic. I don't enter fights with a game plan like, I have to do this, I need to do it. That's how you walk into traps. Because it seems a lot more premeditated. I don't have plans like that. I just want to be in position. Well, if the takedown is there, I go for it. If it's not there, I'm not going to force it. And I do believe I can beat him on the feet. I don't believe I have to get a takedown. It would be nice because that's my world, but I can hang out on the feet too.
Obviously, a lot of people point to your athleticism and speed as kind of what sets you apart in the heavyweight division. Do you think Curtis is that heavyweight that can match you in the athletic department?
No.
He also, Curtis, obviously, he comes with a very high-level grappling background. You yourself, you're a black belt. You have a tattoo on your wrist. Normally, when we see two grapplers in there, it can turn into a striking battle. So, how do you rate Curtis Blaydes striking?
Well, I think I'm first of all a grappler, but I've also been doing MMA a long time. The same as Curtis is first of all a wrestler, but he's been doing MMA a long time. So even though we've got like both decent grappling backgrounds, this is an MMA fight. So I rate Curtis's. I don't know. For me, I think I look at it a little bit different to a lot of other people. Is like I don't look at it like individual stuff. I don't look at it like, oh, this guy's a good wrestler and this guy's a good striker or whatever. Like this is MMA. I look at MMA as a sport of its own. I don't look at it as 5, 6, 7 different disciplines. Like for me, it's one discipline. It's the discipline of MMA, and you need to be sufficient standing, grappling, on the ground, on the fence, on your back, on top, doing everything. Like you need to be good at everything in this sport. So. Yeah, we're both decent at grappling, but we're both, top of the top level MMA fighters. So it's going to be interesting.
Are you used to being in enemy territory now as well? You did it once before 2 years ago. Does it feel business as usual now?
I've done it a bunch of times. I come from a wrestling background. I love going to other high schools, other colleges, and when their fans are booing you, I love that. I feed off that. In the UFC, it's a lot different. I can't hear you guys. You know that, right? I can't hear a thing anyone's saying. I've been to Australia, fought Mark Hunt, didn't hear anything the fans were saying. We were prepared to go to Brazil. No offense, I've heard the Brazilian fans are a little scarier than the British fans. So if I wasn't scared of the Brazilians, I'm not scared of Brits.
Well, I asked Curtis this too, and I'm curious your thoughts. Do you think heavyweights get credit for being well-rounded martial artists, or because to Curtis said, like, you can't really go in there and trade like lightweights because when you touch them on the chin, you kind of go to sleep. Do you think heavyweights get credit as being well-rounded martial artists?
I mean, probably not. Like the definite, like we're definitely getting better in terms of skill, but I think as far as guys who actually are good in all aspects of MMA, I think there's probably 7 or 8 of us who are like elite level at MMA. The other guys are more like guys who can knock you out, and that's really it. Do you know what I mean? And that's MMA's like heavyweight MMA's kind of got its own rules in that regard. At any other division, you need to be like fully skilled everywhere, whereas in the heavyweight division, it's just like there's still guys knocking around who they just need to hit you once, but they're not really great everywhere else.
Are you and Tom going to share another beer after this fight?
I'd like to. Like I said, respectable guy, got no beef, got no animosity. These are my favorite type of matchups where it's all skill. We'll see who's best.
Curtis, just to piggyback on that question, talk to me about your memories from that beer shared with Aspinall, because it felt like even at the end of that fight, it's unfinished business. So when you're sitting there sipping a beer with him, is that what it felt like to you?
Yeah, I knew he was. How old is he now? He's a few years younger than me. I knew he'd be back. I knew he would get healthy. You guys have great health care out here. It's free. That's dope. Like I said, I knew he'd be back, and I knew he'd most likely have to scrap again. I didn't think he'd be over the belt, but I knew he would have to scrap again.
When Curtis fought in Denver, he said he wasn't the biggest fan of fighting at home because you're kind of being pulled in multiple directions. How has it been for you, as the champion fighting at home? Well,
I've been pulled in multiple directions. But yeah, it's yeah, I mean, it's fine. Like, this is my fourth time fighting in the UK, actually. And this time I'm not main event, so I'm sure Leon will be able to give you a more accurate response than I am. But I mean, there's definitely a lot of pressure. There's a lot more pressure fighting here than there is anywhere else. But I'm accustomed to the pressure at this point. Like, I'm friggin' #1 heavyweight in the world. If I can't deal with pressure now, then I'm probably doing the wrong thing with my life. So I'm all right with it.
And if it all goes your way on Saturday night and they wrap that belt around your waist, given the journey that you've been on and the hard yards you've had to put in to get this shot, what would it mean to you to be crowned a world champion in the UFC after all this time?
It means everything. It means all the little decisions I made along the way, they'll be validated.
Tom, you have the shortest average fight time in UFC history, 2 minutes 10. Now, if you didn't already know that, now you do. Is that something that you want to keep going? You want to hold on to that mantle?
I mean, it's nice to have, but it's not something I've tried to have. Do you know what I mean? Like, I always go into a fight, honestly, on the contrary to what people think, I prepare hard for a hard 5 rounds every time. And I see, I always get the same thing from my opponents on my opponent's team. And it's like, oh, we're going to drag him into deep water. We're going to bring him to a place he's never been before. The reason I've never been to them places before is because no one's good enough to take me yet. And that's not me being cocky. That's the reality of it. So everybody comes in and says, yeah, we're going to drag him into deep water. We're going to take him to this miserable place, blah, blah, blah. Like, brilliant. I'm prepared for it. Take me there, please, because I've never been there and I want to see how it goes myself. It's not, I'm not shying away from that at all. Like, if somebody can take me to the 3rd, 4th, 5th round in a competitive fight, fantastic.